Hello and welcome back to the channel, and massive apologies guys for my absence with the old reviews for a while. I just haven't been very well. I'm still sort of struggling. For anyone that doesn't actually know, I suffer from fibromyalgia and ME and I deal with chronic pain a lot, so this time of year is a killer for me. So I may sort of like miss a week here and there if it's particularly bad, but I wanted to get on because I've watched some awesome movies in the last few weeks. I'm taking you now from the 20th of December right through to the 2nd of January. There's 14 days and I believe 21 films and 3 TV series to go through with you. Some are really old ones, so we won't need to cover them at all that I watched over Christmas, but I'm going to then go back to normal starting from Monday of this week just gone, which was the 3rd of January. So I'm not going to cover what I've watched from the 3rd, even though last night I watched Titan. Now, I thought it was pronounced Titan. I looked it up, Titan, on a lot of people's recommendations, and wow, folks. I'm not going to talk about it this time, but wow. So let's get the old recorder for Letterboxd on and let's talk about what I've watched in the last 14 days. Alright guys, I think we ended off last month on the 19th with This Is Not a Movie, so we shall start, hopefully we can see here. We shall start with Swans Song. Forgive me folks, this has been a while. I will sort of have to jog my brain as I'm looking down these. In the near future, Cameron Turner is diagnosed with a terminal illness. Presented with an experimental solution to shield his wife and son from grief, he grapples with altering their fate. Okay, I remember. The concept of this is fantastic. It's a sci-fi movie, more drama based, and basically we are talking about the notion of clones in this movie. It's not a massive spoiler to say that, it's very clear from the off. This guy's going to die. Does he want to save his wife from that sorrow, or does he want to leave her with a false representation of him? It was a really good premise, a really interesting movie, but it was quite dull. I've written interesting premise, very dull execution. I would say check it out if the concept really intrigues you. If you're sort of like, nah, it's not one you need to see. On the same evening, I watched Fat Man, and I wanted to see this one last year and couldn't get my hands on it. This is the kind of alternative Christmas tale starring Mel Gibson as Santa himself, Fat Man. A rowdy, unorthodox Santa Claus is fighting to save his declining business. Meanwhile, Billy, a neglected and precocious 12-year-old, hires a hitman to kill Santa after receiving a lump of coal in his stocking. I am a big lover of alternative Christmas stuff. I love the typical schmaltzy Christmas stuff as well. Rare Exports and Krampus are two of my favourites. I love this. I thought Mel Gibson was excellent, really grumpy, really cantankerous. Completely different feel in the whole notion of Santa, which is something I personally love. I would highly recommend it for anyone that wants to check it out. I give that one a 3 out of 5. The next evening, or the next day, okay, I don't need to spend any time on this. I've written the best comedy of all time. This is my favourite comedy film. See No Evil, Hear No Evil. If you haven't seen it, rectify it. It is amazing. Watching it again these days, it is a bit not very PC. Would you be able to make a movie today about a blind and a deaf man and poke fun at that all the way through, even though it is done in a way that's not actually poking fun at the individuals, but rather the preconceptions of the abilities of blind and deaf people? It's a very clever movie. It's hilarious. Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor together are just mwah, chef's kiss. Love it. 5 out of 5 from me. On the same day, I had a real notion to watch Planes, Trains and Automobiles. Again, big favourite, Steve Martin and John Candy. I adore it. If you haven't seen it, what rock have you been hiding under? It's a Christmas time tale of friendship and redemption. It's amazing. I'm sure everyone that's watching this has seen it. If you haven't, watch it. Same evening, I watched 4 films that day. Same evening I watched 3 Days of Christmas. Right, this isn't a film. This is on Netflix. It's Spanish. Días de Navidad. So this is I think, a 3-part series. 4 sisters celebrate Christmas in their family home at 3 different times in their lives: teenhood, adulthood and elderly age. Really interesting drama, fantastically acted. Won't be for everyone. But I was really grasping for anything new to watch that had even a remotely, you know, tiny Christmas theme, because I love Christmas. I've seen everything to do with Christmas, so I watched this. Really enjoyed it. I know it won't be everyone's cup of tea, but I really dug the story in this. It's really far-reaching, but it is a drama and it's a family drama. If you're not into that kind of thing, probably not for you. As I say, it's a 3-part series. 3 out of 5. Lastly, that same evening, I watched a little documentary on Netflix called Puff, Wonders of the Reef. It is what it says. It's a journey following a baby pufferfish. Really interesting. I adore nature documentaries, but I really struggle with the concept when they show hunting or killing. I hate it. Yes, it's a part of life. Yes, it's not cruel. Yes, it happens. You need to put edited versions of nature documentaries on telly for me, because I don't want to watch a zebra getting taken down by a lion. I don't want to see it. And I know it's life, but I'm weird like that. But this is a really sweet little movie with little perilous moments in as well. While I'm mentioning it, My Octopus Teacher is utterly amazing. Watch it. It's, I think, still on Netflix. It's from last year. It won all kinds of awards. Okay, so I will talk fast, guys. I do apologise if I'm a bit difficult to understand, but I'm really, really conscious of the fact you don't want to sit and watch a massive long video. So I am trying to get through it for the few people that do like to listen to me ramble. I know I ramble. So on the 22nd, this was a real surprise. This is a little Christmas romance with, I just want to say, her out of Game of Thrones. Let me scroll down. Emilia Clarke. I'm not a big lover of rom-coms. I have to admit, it's just not my cup of tea. So this follows a woman, Kate, who has a habit of making bad decisions. Her last date with disaster occurs after she accepts work at as a Santa's elf at a Christmas store. So this sets off as a typical hapless young woman making bad decisions, working in this cutesy shop, but not being, it's got swearing and stuff in it, so it's not really suitable for younger kids. But she's a very normal, relatable character that just messes up everything in her life and treats her friends badly, and something happens to change all that. Now, as I'm watching it, I knew there was something not entirely right and we were going to have a twist. I did get the twist nearing the end of the movie. It did take me quite a while, but I really appreciated what they did. It maybe would be a little bit too syrupy sweet for some people, but the surprise of what they did near in the end really warmed my heart. I do have one in there, folks. It's there. So actually, I like this. This movie is entirely to a George Michael soundtrack, hence it's called Last Christmas. She adores George Michael, who is the only person that could ever have stepped into Freddie's shoes with Queen, as far as I am concerned, but that's besides the point. That version of Somebody to Love that he did at Freddie Mercury's tribute concert just chills, folks, chills. So where are we? On the 23rd, I watched The Matrix in preparation for the new Resurrections film. The Matrix is very good. I enjoyed it. 3.5 out of 5. I found it a little bit difficult to follow in places. Maybe I don't know if it's my lack of sci-fi brain or my lack of concentration, what it is. I did enjoy it. I didn't think it was one of the most amazing things I'd ever seen, like a lot of other people, but I did enjoy it. I went to see The Matrix Resurrections that evening. I fell asleep in the cinema. A lady 2 rows in front of me fell asleep in the cinema so much that her head was lolling on one side between 2 seats. My review simply says I fell asleep, ... I didn't like this. I appreciated the visually, it was stunning. Some of the cinematography in it was beautiful. I was watching it and there were some scenes and I thought, that is gorgeous. I didn't see the need for this film, and I don't feel that what they did, I almost feel that it takes away from the original idea and concept of what they explain as the Matrix. I didn't like it. It just wasn't for me. I know some people did really enjoy it, but I wasn't one of them. Sci-fi is not my typical genre though, so could be that. In saying that, I went with 6 or 7 other people and none of them liked it, so yeah, there we go. On the same evening, I watched Beaconsfield. This is a true story. I believe it's on Amazon Prime. It is about miners that got trapped underneath Beaconsfield mine in 2006. It's a true story about them trying to get these miners out of the predicament. I love anything like this, anything that's true to life, that follows a struggle, follows a rescue. I'm not going to say what happened. They were stuck underground for 14 days. Did they make it out? Did they not? If you know the story, you will know what happened, but if you know the story, it's maybe more interesting than if you don't. I feel it was dragged out longer than it was needed. It did really drag in places, so I would say only watch that if you adore this type of genre of rescue movies. So 2.5 out of 5. On the next day, finally, Don't Look Up. I'll scroll down there. Where is it? Let me go back. You can see there, Lost in the Rail, that Sean has written a review in this, which is absolutely incredible reading, folks. I think I preferred this more than he did, but I completely get the points he's making in his review. This is on Netflix at the moment. It is a sort of science fiction drama, I suppose, satirical comedy about an impending doom, about a meteorite striking Earth. It is a meteorite, isn't it? Striking Earth. Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence are professionals that are trying to warn the world about what's going to happen, and no one is listening. They even go on a breakfast TV show. Nobody is listening. Leonardo DiCaprio gets quite a reputation as the sexy scientist, and he sort of falls by the wayside with this new image that he's acquired. Now, I did hear someone say, and apologies, I don't remember who it is. If you're watching this, you will recognise this comment. Someone said that Jennifer Lawrence could have been anyone in this, and her performance was just meh. I completely disagree. She stole this from me. I loved her character. I related a lot to her character. I felt the same emotions that her character felt. Certain scenes in this when she's not speaking but she's making certain expressions to what other people are saying are just priceless. This is very clever. As Sean does say in his written review, the first half of this movie is much more hard-hitting and clever and satirical than the second. It does then slow down a bit. Personally, I still loved it. I really, really enjoyed this start to finish. I loved how it ended. I loved the journey of the characters. I really liked it. What can I say? Two low-level astronauts, have you heard me? Two low-level astronomers, upon discovering that it was a meteor, will strike Earth, in 6 months go on a media tour to try to warn the world, but find an unreceptive and unbelieving populace. Meryl Streep as the president in this is so clearly a play on Donald Trump and his stupidity. It is ridiculous. It's really clever. It's really good. I really enjoyed it. I gave it, I think, a 4. Yeah, I gave that a 4 out of 5. So obviously I liked it much more than those other people. Let's see. We don't want to delete it. There's some other reviews for you. 2.5, 4.5. Oh, Emma. I love Emma, Spooky Astronauts channel. If you like horror and you're not subscribed to Spooky Astronauts, you are missing a trick. She is amazing. Absolutely love her. So she scored it 4.5 as well. So some people loved it, some people not so much. For me, it was a big thumbs up. On the same evening, this was a weird one. Like I said, I was trying to find different. How many? 11 minutes. I'm trying to get through this as fast as I can. El Camino Christmas. This is so far removed from a Christmas movie you will not believe, other than the fact it's set at Christmas. This follows a young man seeking his father who has left it. He's never met, I thought he'd left as a baby. He ends up barricaded in a liquor store with 5 other people on Christmas Eve in the fictitious town of El Camino. Basically, he ends up in this liquor store with these other people. People mistakenly believe he has done something he hasn't. Cops turn up, there's a standoff, there's a shootout. All sorts happen. I ended up really liking this. I started thinking, what the hell's this? And not been entirely convinced by it. The Dax Shepard from Scrubs fame is in this, lots of other things, but I always remember Dax Shepard from Scrubs. He plays like a sort of hapless cop in this. Jessica Alba's in it, but not very much. I liked it. Check it out. Probably then again, don't wait till Christmas because it's not Christmassy. I liked it. But it is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. It is very dark. Okay, I'm not going to go into the next one. I've listed Making of The Witcher Season 2 and Making of The Witcher because I had just finished watching The Witcher Season 2, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Can I just add at the end, to be completely and utterly sexist, that the shirt did not come off once. I was not amused. Henry Cavill as The Witcher, as Geralt, is just sex personified. As Superman, the expression grinds up good applies to both Henry Cavill as The Witcher and the guy that's name escapes me that plays Rick Grimes in The Walking Dead. Whenever I see him in Love Actually, it's like, what? No, where's your stubble? Where's your messy hair? What's wrong with you? So yeah, The Witcher, I did really enjoy it. I just mourned the lack of Geralt shirtless in a bath. It should have been done for us fans, but it wasn't. So anyway, 25th of December, Christmas Day. Muppets Christmas Carol. You would say this should be watched on Christmas Eve, Lisa, and it probably should be, but my family tradition is that we watch this every year. First thing we get out of bed on Christmas Day, when the presents are being opened, Muppets Christmas Carol is on in the background. It's no secret this is my favourite Christmas film of all time. Christmas Carol is my favourite book of all time. I love the story. I adore the story. I've seen every version of it you can think of. and I prefer the Muppets. What can I say? I know it's not the most serious, but if you listen to the narration in the Muppets Christmas Carol, the bits of Dickens that you get, the actual, you know, the actual bits of the quotes of the story is beautiful. I know everyone concentrates on this, the puppets, but there's a lot to be said about that movie. It's incredible. So 27th, so Boxing Day, there was nothing. On the 27th, I watched, this is on every year on Netflix. It's just like a satirical look at the year where actors pretend to be certain people and they basically take the piss out of different people throughout the year. Hugh Grant's in this as like an old professor and he's always really funny. Comedic retrospective mixes archival footage and scripted sketches as it revisits all the dread and occasional delight that 2021 had to offer. So we've got Florentina watched this one, she gave it a 3.5. Someone didn't rate it, someone gave it a 1, and Scolder22, 3.5. What did I give it? I gave it a 2.5. It was okay, I liked it. There were giggles in it, it wasn't hilarious. On the same eve, right, I watched this over a few days. This is a new Korean series on Netflix, The Silent Sea. This follows a group of astronauts going up to, I think this is set in the future. I'm sure this is set in the future. During a perilous 24-hour mission on the moon, space explorers try to retrieve samples from an abandoned research facility steeped in classified secrets. This follows these people. Basically on Earth there is a water shortage and everyone has got a certain amount of water per day to live on. They're not allowed any more and they get a certain amount based on like hierarchy on what colour key or something they have. They're sent up to try and retrieve samples. They're trying to produce water. They're sent up there because there was an accident on the station. They have to retrieve these samples, bring them back, and all sorts of stuff kicks off. This was interesting. It was good. It wasn't on the same level as some other Korean series that I've watched, but I did enjoy it. I did think that the ending would be more powerful. The ending was a little bit anticlimactic for me, but I do still think it's really worth a watch. I give that a 3 out of 5. Where are we? Pontypool on the 27th. This is one of these that it told me on Letterboxd I'd seen before, and I'm like, I have no recollection of watching this, and I watched it again and it did sort of click into place. This entire movie is set in a radio booth. It follows this radio DJ and his producer. When disc jockey Grant Massey reports to his basement radio station in the Canadian town of Pontypool, he thinks it's just another day at work. But when he hears reports of a virus that turns people into zombies, Massey barricades himself into the radio booth and tries to figure out a way to warn his listeners about the virus and its unlikely mode of transmission. This is a weird one. This, I read, the writers very much wanted to base this on a similar premise to War of the Worlds. Remember when it was published on the radio and people felt it was real? This goes out over the radio and it's warning of the zombie outbreak. I'm not going to go into details about how it transfers, what happens. It is really interesting. It's very well acted. It's not going to be something for you if you want to see zombies and ripping people apart in like loads of action. This is more a slow character-based study sort of drama. It does have a little bit of stuff in it here and there, but I enjoyed it. I gave it a 3 out of 5. I would say it's worth a watch if you're a horror fan that likes that little bit more to tick over in your head than just blood and guts. On the 30th, we're getting there. How long? 18 minutes. Oh, I'm trying to keep this as short as I can, folks. Come on, come on. Finally. I've been wanting to see this for so long. I recognise this as a beautiful movie, expertly filmed with great performances. Perhaps I wasn't in the right mood as I didn't love it and I found myself being very easily distracted. This is Joaquin Phoenix's new movie, a documentary filmmaker, that's him, whose latest project involves gifted children, bonds with his smart yet sensitive nephew whose father struggles with bipolar disorder and is in the grips of a manic episode. You can see, I'll just leave the scores there for you to see, and you can see how highly other people rate it on there. Joaquin Phoenix is excellent in this, as he is generally in everything. This is the story. The little boy's dad basically needs a lot of help from the mother. So she needs someone to look after her son while she's dealing with what her husband is going through. There's not a lot of emphasis on that. That's a side thing, you know, we don't see a lot of that. The main emphasis of this is on the bond between Joaquin and his... Sorry, it's not Joaquin, what's his name in this? Johnny. And his nephew Viv. I recognise that it is a beautiful movie. I just didn't watch it and fall in love with it. I liked it, but I didn't love it. But you can see those reviews there: 5, 4.5, 3.5, 5, 4, 4. I gave it a 3.5. I wouldn't say that's how much I enjoyed it. I would say it would probably be a 2.5 if I'm talking personal enjoyment level. But I do recognise that that's just me. That's just personal preference, and that's just maybe my mood at the time. But yeah, it was a bit slow for my liking, to be honest. I don't know what it was. I can't. I recognise it's probably me, and I maybe should watch it again. But it didn't just delight me, is all I can say. That ends 2021, folks. I think I watched 387 movies in 2021. It's not some bad going. I'm trying in 2022 to write a tiny bit about every film I watched, and I've done that so far. It's only going to be a few lines. I'm not going to write big long reviews because, folks, I don't have time. So I'll just basically write a couple of lines that will give you an idea on, you know, why I liked or why I didn't like it. So on the 1st of December, there were 3 movies this day. I watched The Rescue. This is a documentary based on the rescue of those little boys in the cave where the British divers went down in. A wonderful story using real footage of a rescue we all know very well of 13 boys and their football coach from the water-filled cave in Thailand. We have some real-life heroes on show here. It's just a shame that the rescue didn't succeed with no loss of life. Well, worth a watch, but I would have loved some more interviews and follow-up after. So I've given that a 4 out of 5. As I say, it's all real footage, it's all real interviews with the individuals concerned. It just always saddens me that there was a death in this, and there was a retrospective death after this, which was a direct impact of this. It just wouldn't have had that sort of bittersweet end that it was completely successful. I'm not giving you spoilers here. This is a real story about the boys that they got out of the cave in Thailand. I'm really interested in how they did it. Real life footage of them putting the boys under the water to take them out. Really, really good documentary. Thoroughly recommend it. I give that a 4 out of 5. Mass. Another one I've been desperate to see. I've spent so much money over Christmas on movies. It's as in buying them on streaming services. People say, why don't you buy the physical copy? I've no room, folks. And if I watch a thing, I probably will never watch it again. And what's the point of having it taking up room if I'm not going to watch it? Mass. I've given this a 4.5 out of 5. My comment about this is tragic, heartbreakingly sad, yet poignant. Mass is not a movie to watch to be entertained, but rather if you want to be a fly on the wall of one of the rawest conversations you could ever bear witness to. Quite simply an acting masterclass from everyone involved. So this is a movie, where is it? Years after a tragic shooting, the parents of both the victim and perpetrator meet face to face. And that's what it is. I haven't seen Martha Plimpton in years. I don't know if she's done a lot. But when I see Martha Plimpton, I'm like transported back to the 80s, to like Goonies days. She is amazing in this. All the actors are amazing in this. There's the scores for you. I'll just leave them on the screen for you to see. This was just so superbly acted. It is very slow. It all follows the conversation of the two families trying to find common ground, trying to connect, but there being understandably a lot of hostility from the parents of the victim. And can they manage to have this conversation and come out the other end with some form of link or understanding of one another and their situation? Absolutely fantastic. As I say, only one to watch if you're ready to sit down and watch something really serious. The whole thing is filmed in one room, and all involves that one conversation. Can't say any more about it. I think the scores that you can see there on the screen say it all. It was superb. If anything's going to win awards at this year's Oscars, please let it be Mass. On the same day I watched Spencer, which is the new movie about Diana, Princess of Wales. So I've written, Spencer is not the most exciting of storylines, being set over just a few days of the Christmas holiday of 1991, attending the royal celebrations. Kirsten Stewart's performance as Diana makes this worth a watch. The voice and accent is eerily accurate, as are the mannerisms. So, as I've said, I'm not a big fan of the royal family. You don't have to be to watch this. I always did love Diana. I loved her empathy for people. I loved the fact that she opened up the world to the knowledge that you could sit on the bedside of an AIDS victim, you could hug them. You know, before that, people thought that you couldn't touch someone that had AIDS, which is just ridiculous. And people were really shocked and in some cases appalled back then that she was there hugging them, and people were saying, how can she be allowed to do that with how she, you know, she's really important. And she really brought it home to a lot of people and educated a lot of people and done an awful lot more besides. But I was always a big fan of Diana. This basically covers what can only be described as the mental breakdown of herself, and it was that she decided that her marriage was over with Charles. Now obviously this is a work of fiction, even though all of this did happen. That dinner did happen. Things about the outfits being like, she had outfits labelled like morning, breakfast, afternoon, lunch, blah blah blah, and all these dresses hung in order with her name that she had to wear. That's all true. I would love to know if it's true that they had to be weighed when they arrived and weighed when they ended or left 3 days later, because it was a tradition of one of the older kings that everybody had to have tried to put on 3 pounds during their time to prove that they had a good time while they were there. Well, I'll tell you what, I had such a good time over the month of December and Christmas that I put on a stone. Fat heifer, honest to God. It's shocking. It's like it takes me 3 months to lose a stone and like 2-3 weeks to put one on. I don't know what's going on, it's not right. So this, if you want to see a real character study of Diana, what she was possibly going through internally, then definitely watch this. Kristen Stewart, I was shocked at how good she was. It actually sounded like Diana speaking. The mannerisms were there, everything. If you've any sort of interest, if you know anything about the royal family, this is really worth a watch. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. And we've only 2 movies left. The Lost Daughter and The Eyes of Tammy Faye. You can see I'm desperately trying to watch these big releases that have been Oscar nominated, and as I say, I've paid a fortune to buy these on streaming services. Some of these aren't available in the UK yet. Blessed VPNs. The Lost Daughter, this has just come onto Netflix recently. Olivia Colman is in this, who I adore. This is another very slow movie. I've written, Olivia Colman is, as always, wonderful. This movie has a lot to say about the inner struggles of being a mother, the taboo of putting your own needs first, and the ongoing psychological damage that single-mindedness can do many years on. Although I can recognise the fantastic acting and writing in this, I wanted a little more. It was very good, but I wanted the great I've come to expect from Olivia Colman. I've said I've gone to expect instead of come to, I need to change that. Okay, so this follows a woman on holiday. She's very quiet. She is obviously enjoying her surroundings. She's relaxing. She's very cultured. She's very intelligent. Another family arrive that are very loud and boisterous and are obviously irritating this woman's happiness, but she feels this strange drawn connection to one of the young mothers there with her daughter. And we come to know through the movie that she has had children herself, and she has perhaps made very selfish decisions that she is thinking about through the course of this movie, and sort of, you know, mirroring against this woman that she has seen with her daughter. Very good acting, very slow movie in the terms of story. Not an awful lot happens, but we get an awful lot of flashbacks to her when she was younger, growing up, what type of person she was, and how all of this really has been stripped away since she became a mother. Because as a mum myself, a lot of mums feel, and I would never take away like being a mum is the best thing I've ever done. For me personally, you do have a real loss of identity when you become a mum, because you become that child's mum and that is your priority. That is the main thing you think about. But an awful lot of what you were beforehand just goes. And I think that's what this movie's about. It's quite brave to do that because it's something you're not meant to do or say. You're not meant to say, I really regret that I didn't get to do this, or this had to change, or my life got worse. You're not supposed to say any of those things, but this movie says all those things, and it's very brave for that reason. I did really enjoy it. I gave it a 3 out of 5. With Olivia Colman in there and with the seriousness of the subject, I did expect a little bit more, but I would still say watch it. Finally, you can see the other movies I've watched there above. I finally saw Dune, folks. Resident Evil, I finally saw it. Right, I'll talk about that next week. Finally, The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Now, being from the UK, Northern Ireland, I had no idea who Tammy Faye was. If you're in America, you're probably going, we don't have TV evangelists. We don't have that sort of thing. And to me, it's ridiculous. I cannot understand how people send money to these people. It makes no sense to me. So this is the true story of Tammy Faye and her husband. I don't even know what the man's name was. Jim Becker, played by Andrew Garfield, very well. Jessica Chastain and Andrew Garfield in this were amazing. I did, as I always do when it's a true story, look up the individuals afterwards to see what they're like, and it was uncanny. They were so good. So, in the 1970s and 80s, Tammy Faye and Jim Becker, is it Becker or Backer? I'm sure it's Becker, rose from humble beginnings to create the world's largest religious broadcasting network and a theme park, and were revered for their message of love, acceptance, and prosperity. Jim Becker's character in this is just loathsome, horrible, nasty. I didn't like the man at all. I feel that she was painted in a more positive light, but at the same time, as the movie went on, there should have been signs of how they were living off the money that people were giving them that they thought was going to be going for good things, like buying frivolous things like fur coats and stuff. So I don't think she was entirely blameless, as it seems people seem to love this woman. I could sympathise with her, but she was very flawed also. So I've written a story of a couple I honestly had never heard of. TV evangelists are a very odd concept to me, so I found it shocking in itself that this couple were so popular and able to take money so freely from their followers. Having looked at video footage of the real couple, it's clear the actors involved did a great job. It's just a subject matter that's not really up my street, but credit where it is due. I gave it a 3.5. Let me just switch this off. I gave it a 3.5, as like I say, it was interesting to follow. They were very close to the actual individuals concerned. I did a flipping toilet. Honestly, in this house, there's a bird out there. Can I have half an hour without a toilet flushing, somebody stomping, floorboards creaking? This should go in bloopers, but you know what? It's not going to. There's loads of birds. They're all going home. It's about 4:15 in the afternoon and it's dark. So, yeah, I did enjoy it. I found it really interesting. The acting was superb. It's not really a subject matter that's up my street. Like, a massive amount of religion makes me feel uncomfortable. In saying that, I've nothing against religion. I was brought up by a very strict Catholic family. Loads of mass twice a week, all that sort of stuff. And these days I don't follow faith as such. I don't go to mass, any of that. Not that that's relevant to this. But when loads of religions get hammered home at me, I tend to get a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe because I've had a lot of that in my upbringing, I don't know. But at the same time, people that are critical of religion to the degree that they really have a lot to say anti, a lot to judge, a lot nasty to say, I also have big issue with. Like, my mum is one of the most sweetest characters in the world you could ever meet. She's very religious. She prays a lot. She's got very, very severe MS. And religion and faith give her a lot of comfort. But a lot of people feel if you follow a religion or if you're religious, they're just really nasty about it. And to me, that's no better than racism. It's no better than sexism, ageism, any of the isms. You're judging a person based on their way of life, something they believe to them that's important to them. And I have severe issue with people that do that. I don't like it. Some of the nicest people I know are so anti-religious, they judge everyone that it's important to. I don't like it, what can I say? So yeah, that is what I have been watching, folks. I've also watched this, but because I talked so much about so many other things, I will talk about that next week. Cobra Kai, oh my god, amazing. Cannot wait for season 5. Why is it that we all now love Johnny much more than we love, I want to say Ralph, what was his name, Danielson? But yeah, Cobra Kai is just amazing. And when the credits went up, they played a really old instrumental of Def Leppard's Switch 6, what is it? Switch something. It's a 3-digit number. It starts with a 6. Is it 625? 64? Can't remember. It's an instrumental from Def Leppard's album High and Dry, and I always loved it, and I haven't heard it in so many years, and it was like, oh my god, all these songs they play. They were playing Judas Priest. That from my youth, it's like, oh my god, you know, just all this delightful old 80s stuff from, like, I heard it way after when it was first released, but stuff that I loved as a teenager. Right, I'm gonna go now. Thank you guys so much for watching through this really long video. I shall hopefully try and be back next week with my usual weekly what I watched, where I will talk a little bit more about Cobra Kai, but all you need to know is watch it, even if you are not a fan of a Karate Kid. Yes, it's got massive amounts of nostalgia, but it's so worth a watch. On other news, I hope to be on a couple of live streams in the near future. On a Wednesday night live stream with Playtendo Guy on, I believe it's the last Wednesday of the month. And John from Mondo Chelovic Movie has asked me at some stage to come on and do a live stream with him, so I am delighted to be able to do those. And I will let you guys know when they're coming up nearer to the time. So thanks so much as always for watching. Let me know anything below in the comments that you like that I've seen, things you disagree with, things you agree with. I really need to take a day to sit down and answer my comments, guys. Please don't think I don't read them. I always do eventually. It's just sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming just going through them all because, you know, you're waiting to see something horrible or nasty, and sometimes for the sake of sanity I take a break from my comments, and I have been for the last few weeks, but I will, I promise, get back to them all. Thank you for watching, guys, and it's over now from Lisa Lives.